All right, let's talk about the EdD, the Doctor of Education. If you're an educator or some kind of professional who's looking to make a real impact, you've probably heard of it. So today, we're going to break down exactly what this degree is, who it's for, and how it can launch you into the absolute highest levels of leadership. Okay, let's get into it.
So let's just start with a big question, right? Are you ready to be the person who doesn't just work in the system, but actually gets to shape it? If you're nodding your head right now, then you're in exactly the right place, because that's what the Doctor of Education is all about. So what is this thing really? Let's get a nice clear definition. This isn't just another degree to hang on the wall. It's what we call a professional doctorate. Okay, the key words you gotta focus on here are professional, real-world challenges, and change agents. See, unlike a more traditional research doctorate, the ED is all about application. It's designed to give you the skills to tackle the messy, practical, complex problems you actually see every single day, whether you're in a school, a university, or even a corporate training department.
And this right here, this just perfectly illustrates what the degree focuses on. At the very heart of most EdD programs is this idea of the problem of practice. This isn't some abstract theoretical question. No, it's a real, tangible issue from your own job. Something like low student retention, or unfair resource allocation, or professional development that just isn't working. That's the problem your entire dissertation will be built around solving.
The EdD didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was born from a very specific need. So, way back, the PhD in education was established for scholars. But then, in 1921, Harvard spotted a gap. They realized there was a need for a doctorate for the practitioners, the school administrators on the ground. And that practitioner-scholar split has defined the degree ever since. And today, you've got organizations like the Carnegie Project, or CPAD, that make sure it stays super rigorous and relevant.
Okay, so this brings us to probably the biggest, most common question out there. What's the actual difference between an EdD and a PhD in education? Let's get right down to the core distinction.
The easiest way to think about it is like this. The EdD is the practitioner's path, and the PhD is the scholar's path. Someone in an EdD program is going to take all the existing research and apply it to solve a real problem. But a PhD candidate, they're trying to create brand new, original research to contribute to the theory itself. So one is all about application, and the other is about origination. Now let's put them side by side and see how this all shakes out. Just look at the target audience. The EdD, it's for people already working, administrators, leaders. The PhD, that's for aspiring professors and full-time researchers. And that difference shapes everything, from the dissertation to, and this is crucial, the career paths. An EdD gets you a job like superintendent or chief learning officer. A PhD is usually the on-ramp to becoming a tenured professor at a university. Oh, and check out the time commitment. The EdD is often way faster and built for part-time study.
So let's say you're leaning towards that practitioner's path. It sounds like you. But what does that journey actually look and feel like? Let's break it down.
Most programs, and this is great, can be broken down into 3 pretty clear phases. First, you've got your advanced coursework. You're basically building your leadership toolkit. Then you have to prove you've mastered all that stuff through your comprehensive exams. And finally, the whole thing culminates in that dissertation in practice, where you take everything you've learned and use it to solve that real-world problem we keep talking about.
And here's a huge deal for most people. The timeline is typically about 3 to 4 years, and it's almost always designed with online or hybrid options. Why? So you can earn your doctorate without having to quit your full-time job. That's a game changer.
Now, in terms of the actual workload, it's definitely a serious academic commitment. You're usually looking at somewhere between 54 and 90 graduate credits. It really just depends on the university and what you came in with from your master's degree.
And what do you need to get in? Well, the basics are pretty standard. You'll need a master's degree and, this is so important, several years of professional experience. But here's the real kicker for a lot of applicants. Because this degree values your practical experience so much, a ton of top programs have completely waived the GRE requirement.
All right, let's get to the good stuff. You've put in all the work, you've earned the degree, so what's the payoff? Let's talk about the kinds of career doors an EdD can blow wide open and yeah, the salary that comes with it. I mean, look at these career paths. They are impressive, and they're all over the map. We're talking about the absolute top leadership roles, from running an entire school district as a superintendent to setting the entire academic vision for a university as a provost, or even shaping business strategy as a chief learning officer.
And yes, the financial return on this investment is pretty significant. Let's look at a school superintendent. You're talking a median salary of around $149,000.
Move over into higher education leadership, and the median starting salary for a college president jumps even higher to about $169,000.
And it's not just in traditional education. Hop over to the corporate world, and a chief learning officer is pulling in a median salary of $156,000. The point is, this degree translates into serious earning potential, no matter which sector you're in.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground. What an EdD is, who it's for, what it leads to. So now we come to the final, and let's be honest, the most important part. Is this the right path for you?
You know, every big decision has pros and cons. So let's be real about them. The pros are huge. You get practical skills you can use on your job tomorrow, the flexibility to keep working, and a really high return on your investment. But you gotta weigh the cons. It's incredibly time-intensive, especially with a job. It's not the best path if you want a purely academic career. And yeah, it can be expensive, so researching programs and financial aid is a must.
You know, I think this quote just absolutely nails it. It really boils everything down to one essential choice. Do you want to use research for immediate impact, or do you want to create foundational knowledge that other people might use later on? That's really the heart of the decision.
So that leaves us right here with this one last question. When you really think about your ultimate career goal, what gets you more fired up? The idea of advancing knowledge or the idea of applying it? If you can answer that question honestly, you'll know for sure if the Doctor of Education is your path to becoming a true leader of change. Thanks for tuning in.